My name is Lucía Lohmann, and I'm a professor at the University of São Paulo. And I was ATBC president in 2013, when ATBC actually completed 50 years of existence. So people often want to know, so how did the society actually start? And everything actually started in a botany meeting that was held in 1960 at the Fairchild Botanical Garden in Miami. And that meeting had a bunch of different botanists, but mainly American botanists. And at that meeting, they defined tropical botany as a major research priority. So as a result from that meeting, they decided to organize a follow-up meeting in a tropical country with many tropical participants. And so a follow-up meeting was held, and this was organized in July 1962 at the University of West Indies in Trinidad. This conference included 30 participants. These participants represented 10 different countries. There were 19 participants from the United States. One participant was from the Netherlands, and this was the famous botanist Van Steenis. And then there were 8 participants from different tropical countries. And an interesting thing to note is that, so there were 30 participants, and out of these 30 participants, only one participant was a woman. And this was Mildred Matias, who was was a botanist that was really very ahead of her time. And so the society was created on the 6th of July of 1962, which is actually the very last day of that Trinidad conference. And the proceedings of that meeting constituted the first volume of the Bulletin of the Association of Tropical Biology, so ATB. It didn't have the C at the time. But the society was actually only incorporated in 1963. And so we actually established the beginning of the society in 1963. So the original mission of the society was actually very similar to the current mission, which is to function as an international body to promote research, education, conservation, and communication for tropical biology. And when we look at the original composition of members, the majority of members were actually botanists and zoologists. There were not many botanists within ATB at the time, but actually this really reflects the fact that there weren't many ecologists at the time anyway. And also when we look at the nationality of those members, we see that most members were from the Americas. There were some from Asia, Africa, and a few from Europe, but actually very few. And this was also reflected in the council composition and on the composition of presidents, honorary fellows, and meeting locations and so forth, which were mainly focused on the Americas. So over these 54 years of existence of the society, we really see that the society expanded considerably in terms of its scope and also in terms of the geographic distribution and gender balance, and it's really much broader now. So over the last 54 years of existence of the society, it has expanded a lot, not only in scope, but also in terms of the geographic distribution of its members, of the council, of the presidents, also of the locations of the meetings, and also in terms of gender balance. And so now, one question that we ask ourselves is, okay, so we've done a lot in those last 54 years, and where should we go now as a society? And when I think about this question, and I always go back to Miguel Martínez Ramos' presidential address in 2007 in Morelia, in which he said that we need more than science to conserve nature. And this is exactly what we have been discussing a lot at this meeting, which is 10 years after his original statement. And what we see is that we have done a lot of research, but we still need to do a lot more in terms of social actions and political actions in order to have a true impact in terms of conservation and sustainable development. The first meeting that I ever attended of the ATBC was in 1997 in Costa Rica, and I have learned a lot throughout those 20 years that I have attended meetings of the ATBC. So both in terms of science, every time I come to a meeting, I learn a lot, and I go back home filled with new ideas, but also the interaction with different researchers and talking to people in different places. I get lots of new ideas and insights into my own research project, as well as establish a lot of new collaborations that wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't actually been at the meeting. So a lot of people talk now about having webinars and online meetings, but I think that having the actual meetings here and meeting people is really, is something that we can't replace.